February 1959, 9 experienced hikers entered the Ural Mountains in Soviet Russia. They were skilled, prepared, and familiar with surviving brutal conditions. But a few days later, something happened on that mountain, something so terrifying that the group ripped open their tent from the inside and ran barefoot into the freezing snow in the middle of the night. Some bodies were later discovered nearly half naked. Others had injuries so severe, investigators compared them to a car crash, and one victim was missing her tongue. To this day, nobody fully agrees on what happened at Dyatlov Pass. The group was led by a 23-year-old student named Igor Dyatlov. The hikers were experienced explorers from the Soviet Union. Their goal was simple: cross the mountains, complete the expedition, and return home. Before leaving, they even joked with photographs, smiling, relaxed. Nobody knew these would become the final images ever taken of them alive. And then, the group vanished. Weeks later, search teams finally discovered the campsite, and immediately, something felt wrong. The tent was partially collapsed. But the strangest part was this: the tent had been sliced open from the inside, as if the hikers were desperately trying to escape. Footprints in the snow showed the group fleeing the camp on foot, some without shoes, some barely dressed. And remember, the temperature that night was estimated to be around -30 degrees Celsius. Nobody leaves safety voluntarily in conditions like that, unless they're escaping something worse. The first bodies were found near a forest, frozen to death beneath a tree. Investigators noticed broken branches high above them, suggesting someone had climbed upward, possibly trying to look back toward the campsite. Then more bodies were discovered. Some appeared to have tried returning to the tent, but they never made it. And then came the final group. The injuries shocked investigators. One victim had massive chest trauma, another suffered severe skull fractures, and yet strangely, there were almost no external wounds. One woman, Lyudmila Dubinina, was found missing her tongue, and according to reports, some clothing showed traces of radiation. At that point, theories exploded everywhere. Over the decades, people proposed almost every explanation imaginable: avalanches, military experiments, secret weapons, paranormal attacks, even extraterrestrials. But honestly, there's one detail people don't talk about enough: the footprints. Investigators noted that many footprints showed people walking calmly, not sprinting, not chaotic, which means whatever scared them may not have been sudden. It may have started quietly, slowly, almost psychologically. And this leads to a terrifying possibility. What if the group believed they were already dead? Stay with me here. One theory I personally think is underrated is infrasound. Under certain wind conditions, mountains can create extremely low-frequency sound waves. Humans can't consciously hear them, but they can affect the brain, causing panic, irrational fear, paranoia, and even hallucinations. Imagine sitting inside that tent at night, pitch black outside, violent wind shaking the mountain, and suddenly, everyone begins feeling overwhelming terror without understanding why. No visible threat, no attack, just pure instinctive fear. That could explain why experienced hikers made completely irrational decisions, because they weren't thinking clearly anymore. And once they left the tent, the cold finished what the panic started. But even that theory doesn't explain everything. The radiation, the injuries, the missing tongue, and one final detail makes the mystery even stranger. Some investigators reported seeing strange, glowing lights in the sky around the same time. To this day, nobody knows whether those reports mattered or were simply fear mixed with imagination. But that's what makes Dyatlov Pass so disturbing. Every explanation solves one part of the mystery while creating another. More than 60 years later, the mountain remains silent. The Soviet Union is gone. The investigators are gone. But the mystery survived, because somewhere in those frozen mountains, 9 experienced hikers encountered something terrifying enough to abandon safety and run into darkness. And maybe the scariest part is this: whatever happened that night made perfect sense to them at the time. Some mysteries are frightening because they're unsolved. Dyatlov Pass is frightening because it feels like it should have been solvable.